Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Let the conversation begin. This is Let's Talk with your host, Carl Lee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk, and we have a great guest on today, Andrea Stinson. She's a former WNBA player. She played for the Charlotte Stings, Detroit Shocks. She was a three-time All-Star player, and she was twice named to the second team WNBA, all WNBA. She also works with Sports United, which is they'll do camps and things like that, and they're reaching out and touching over 400 kids. She's also in the NC North Carolina Hall of Fame, and we just want to say hello and just want to make sure we gave you as much props as we could. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Just fine. Hollis Lewis is my co-host, and I think
how you doing, Andrea?
I think he's the one who got this whole thing set up. So I just wanted my first question, and I've been like, couldn't wait to get this question. The women's game today, when you look at it, when you see it, what does it do to you? Like, are you like proud? Are you like, wow, or what does it look like, and how does it feel? Because I know as a former player, when I look at the league, I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, man, gosh, it's just not going the way that I think it ought to go. Not that they care, but I wonder with the path that the women's game is going, especially in the collegiate level and likely now in the professional level, I think it's going to even click up a notch. What does it do what does it do for you?
Well, I am totally just so proud to be a women's basketball player and who helped set the foundation for certain things as far as women's basketball. I'm proud. I'm happy. I'm ecstatic. I hope it continues to grow. I'm going to do everything I can, to help it continue to grow. But I'm ecstatic. I'm just smiles.
and what Coach didn't mention that in addition to all your other accolades, being a WNBA All-Pro, you were also a U.S. Olympian. So you got a gold and bronze medal in the. You got a gold in the Jones Cup, and you got a bronze in the Pan American Games. Could you just briefly talk about that experience?
Well, that was a great experience. Being in different countries and playing for the USA is always an experience within itself because they have certain expectations of you as American basketball players. And, the teams that I was on had great coaches, great players, and we just represented. You put on that USA uniform and you represent the USA with pride, and you just enjoy doing what you love to do.
When you were playing on that team and you're part of that team, to me, I think that has to be the strongest bond that you could have on any other team. Like I get the teamwork that comes with professional sports. I get it with collegiate sports. I get it with high school sports. But when you're playing for your country and your team are All-American teammates, like it can't. I don't know if there's any greater opportunity to play for a team, to be part of that clique. Is that the epitome of team?
Yes, Team USA. Yes, you develop a bond with people you never knew before. You thought you knew who they were, but you learn more about them because you spend so much time with them now, and it is a bond that lasts forever. You always remember that team and your teammates, the coaches, the water person, the sports medicine person. You remember everybody. and you got pictures with everybody. So it's a great feeling, a great opportunity to always put on a USA basketball uniform.
Now you played the USA basketball, you played overseas, you played in WNBA, you played at a high level, at a collegiate level. Now watching the game, and we'll talk about your coaching, which is a very unique situation later, but watching the game now, watching the women's game, how do you see it evolve? What's the biggest thing that stands out in that standpoint?
The skills, the mentality of competing at a high level has we competed at a high level, but they're competing with a little oomph on it, a little. Yeah, that's it.
and I can remember back in the day, if everybody wasn't free to take a three. And if you took a three, more or less, if you took 10 yards back from the 3-point line, you coming out. And now these young ladies can pull that shot off like nothing. I mean, how big of a change is that?
That is a big change, because when we were playing, it was get to the basket, trying to get to the basket. If you can't get there, stop and pull up. That was our game. Get to the basket, fast break. Hey, make it to the basket. Don't stop and shoot a three. Make it to the basket.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm going to stop and shoot this three, and that's what I'm going to live and die by. This three, and that's their mentality now. And we can't do anything about that. We did what we did, and they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Now, but let me ask you that. Does that make the game better or worse? Because I think it's and not necessarily from the women's game, but I know from the men's game, I grew up with the Shaqs and Hakeem Olajuwon and different people of that nature. So now just everybody pulling threes, it almost it sort of waters down. Do you see that in the women's game too, or is it kind of different?
I don't know. It's good and bad in it, because you got players like Caitlin who can hit it at any moment. And you got some players that should not shoot it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you still do have some ladies that can down in the paint.
But I think that's the good thing about the women's game. Y'all still got people on the block. Y'all still got people, that's playing underneath the basket.
That's right. And you got some of them that think, man, if I didn't make the last one, so I'm gonna give it to the girl in the inside. I mean, you got a lot of different options now. Yeah. So these girls are just, they have to make good decisions on when, because yes, that coach is standing over there on the sideline and saying, yes, get them out of my game. They should. I got Asia inside, Wilson inside. I'm going inside before I shoot that three. I mean, that's just me personally, but they're not thinking like that. So coach has to take them out and get them to understand what we're doing, and then put them back in the game. But they're definitely coming out. Definitely.
So let me ask you, just kind of jumping around here, but you were part of the first iteration of WNBA. I think prior to that, you actually played overseas. So being that first generation of WNBA player, and I believe you played with Dawn Staley as well, what was that experience like?
Oh, man. Let me tell you. I'm going to start from the beginning. Well, I played overseas, yes, the first 6 years. I came out of NC State in 91. I played overseas 6 years before the WNBA started. Mm-hmm. And all I could think about was, when is the WNBA going to start? And that's all I could think about. And I'm like, well, what if I have to choose between overseas and WNBA, da-da-da-da-da? Well, I didn't have to, because WNBA was in the summer. So I'm just telling you, from a player's perspective, I was excited, ecstatic that the WNBA was even thought about. So once it became physical and everything had been laid out, and then for my hometown, Charlotte, to pick me to be one of the first players to be in the franchise, man, I was done.
Yeah.
I was so full of joy. I cried till I couldn't cry no more. I don't think I slept the last month or two of playing overseas before coming home to the WNBA. I didn't sleep, man. I'm telling you, it was so exciting to be able to play at home, first of all, on our own United States, and then in front of family and friends and everybody in my hometown. Man, I was ecstatic, man. I couldn't even tell you if I could feel my body at that time. I just didn't know.
That's awesome.
One of the questions that I get asked sometimes is like what is it like to play? What is it like to play? In the NFL. Da 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 da. For you, what was that like?
Heaven,
what?
Man.
Yeah, and I'm almost saying the same. Like I would say the same thing. Like it is like the very first time I could walk out on the field and I knew that I was playing, and I'm like thinking,
yeah,
this is actually the NFL. I can sense, but I want to hear your version of you walking out on the court for the first time, and you're at a professional level, whether it be WNBA or whatever. What were you like? You look at the lights, you look at the crowd, you look at everything, because you don't want to forget it.
That's right. You do not want to forget that. Well, my first walk onto the court was in a practice. So just to be able to practice other girls who play professionally, some who are just getting started, it was amazing. It was a dream come true. Put it that way, a dream come true to be able to play professionally in my hometown in the United States, not having to go overseas, pack my bags and all this. Just grab your bag and go to the gym. That was great. That was amazing. And the first game, to see all the people in the arena signing autographs and the kids yelling and screaming your name, I was like, how do they know my name?
and you
knew what you could do by you being placed with the team. That told them right there what you could do. So this must be the player. If she was picked by the franchise to be their star player, then she must can play. So they knew my name. They had pictures already. They had all kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, how did they get all this stuff already? We haven't even played one game yet. They don't know what I can do. But the fans do. I have fans that I'm friends with that were season ticket holders the whole entire time the Charlotte team was in it.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, and you had a pretty, I would say, a very good career. You averaged 12 points a game total for your career in the WNBA, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-Pro, 3-time All-Star, and you had your number 32 retired with the Charlotte Sting. So you had a pretty distinguished career, not only as a professional, but also as a collegiate player. So when you mentioned skill set earlier, what were some of the things, 'cause often on this show we talk about training, we talk about skill development and being athletic and different things of that nature. What was how did you develop that? Were you on the playground? Did you have dad or mom kind of working you out in the backyard? What was that like?
I played with the boys in the neighborhood.
There you go.
My cousins, 4 or 5 generations, it doesn't matter. All of my people in Cornelius, North Carolina, I played with the guys every day. They wouldn't let me play because I was a girl. And so I kept going back and I kept going back and they just got tired of seeing me. So they said, okay, well, if you're going to play, they told me this, if you're going to play, and you're going to learn this game, then you're going to be the best thing to ever come out of this area. We're going to enhance your skills, and we're going to beat you up. We're going to knock you down, and you're going to have to learn to score on us. And if you can score on us, there's not a woman out there that could ever stop you.
Wow.
And that was the mentality that I had when I played with the guys and then went and played with the girls. I was like, well, I took this guy over here and he's 2 times faster than her. Now I know she can't do anything with me. And that was my mentality. And of course I was blessed. God blessed me with the talent and to be able to absorb from them and take it into my talent and use it in the women's game.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's first and foremost. I was blessed with the talent, and I thank God every day for that talent.
Because that was my question. I was going to ask, like, when you sit back and you try to figure out, like, what was the key component to make you all WNBA? Like, was it your shooting? Was it your defense? Was it just the skill set? Was it, being in shape at the very top level to where you could do all of those things at one time? If you had to pick one, what was your key? What was the key skill set, talent, conditioning? What was the thing that was the basis of your greatness?
The basis of my greatness was basic fundamentals.
Okay, I like that.
A mentality that my basic fundamentals and my skills that I was blessed with can take me as far as I wanted to go. And to be able to play on the highest level, you got to have that mentality of that nobody can stop you, that you can play with the best. And that was the mentality that I had when I went to college. That mentality just enhanced so much playing for Coach K. Yao. She helped me develop that mentality as to, I know that you play a certain way. I know you have these moves and stuff that you do, but you can do them within my system. And that's what I did. Some mental training, some mental preparedness to be able to play the way I play, the round the back and up through and reverse it within Coach Yao's system. And that's what taught me a lot about myself and playing.
Now, speaking of coaching, you actually played with a very, very famous and successful coach currently. I believe you played with Dawn Staley when you were with the Charlotte Sting together. How was she as a player, and did you foresee kind of everything that's happening for her now?
She was a coach then.
Oh, yeah.
Coach then. She's the point guard on the floor. She's coaching everybody. She's telling everybody, look, I got you this play that way. Stan, if you go back door, I got you on the bounce. Da-da-da-da-da. We talk so much because, see, first of all, we were the speaking captains. We were the captains of the team. So we were the speaking captains. We could talk to the refs or we could talk to each other. I mean, we were just always communicating, and she was always coaching. And I give her that prop till today. It was great playing with Dawn. She was a coach. She was a friend. She was a mentor. All that to me when we played together at the WNBA. So I can imagine what the younger girls are going through now. As a coach, as a young girl, listening to all the experience that she's had and that she's been through, because, I'm listening, I'm thinking, wow. And I know they're saying wow about 3 or 4 times. You know what I'm saying? And Dawn is doing what Dawn was blessed with and what she has been doing her whole career.
All right. I have I think it could be a challenging question. Everybody's in an uproar over the paying of the number 1 pick in the WNBA versus the number 1 pick in the NBA. I kind of have. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking that the WNBA, that it's too big of a difference. I can get a difference. I'd be okay with the difference if it was, maybe 400,000 or 500,000. But I'm not. I don't think. I don't even watch. I'm the guy who's watching the WNBA. I don't. I don't do the NBA. And I'm totally satisfied now. I guess maybe this has something to do with people coming to the games, the number of people that come to the game, the arenas, how big they are, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sorry. I think that it has to be a look. You got to bring that closer some kind of way. Am I on? Because I think a lot of men who hadn't really watched the WNBA, they're like, right. Oh no, that game ain't, that ain't nothing. they'll beat you. You can't play with them. And you're doing the exact same thing that these guys are doing. And your pay is way different. What's your take on that?
Well, it's my take on it was what I retired in 2005. I played for 8 years. I mean, my take on it has been, we're doing the same thing that you're doing. Our season may not be as long as your season, but we're doing the same thing. We're getting up every morning. We're going to the gym. We're working out. We're lifting weights. We're shooting shots. We're being pampered after practice with ice and the cold water. And I mean, we're doing everything that you're doing. And I just mean, to me, I just can never understand why the difference was such a big difference. I think that we as women, we play the game. Yeah, we play the game to get paid, but we play the game because we love it. We love it. And I'm not saying that the men don't love it, but for us to play for what we're playing for, we have to have much more love for the game than
that's true.
Anyone else. Because we know what we're getting paid, and we know what we're worth. We know what we're worth. So it's a mentality. Here we go back to the mentality. And we love our fans. We love the little girls that pay attention, even the little boys. We love our fans. We had a lot of fathers that bring their families out to the games and come with them. And I mean, we love it. So I just see it as, I hope one day that it changes. I really hope that it changes for them, that things get better as women's basketball is growing.
Yeah.
But I just, I've always just sat down and thought, well, why are we getting paid like they're getting paid? What? I mean, even half of it. Not that we play the whole season that they play, but we play a half of what they play. So still half of it. But,
And I would argue that it's getting better, and I would even argue that probably playing less games is better for like competition and just the intensity of it. But I do think it's going to get better. But I wanted to swing back because we talked about Coach Staley, but we got to talk about you as a coach too, because I think you're doing something at least that I'd never heard of. Is that you're not only an assistant basketball coach at Bluefield University, not to be confused with Bluefield State University, but at Bluefield University, you're assistant for the women's team, and you're also an assistant for the men's team. So you're pulling double duty. How was that going?
Well, I absolutely love it. I have 2 practices. I have 2 games.
That's brutal, Coach.
I have 15 girls. I have 15 boys. I mean, I have it all. I have 2 managers that I have to deal with as an assistant. I have to help women's coach prepare men. Hey, I'm having a ball, man. I'm having a great time.
Look, I coach football, and it took
everything.
It took all day.
I coached middle school and it was tough.
How are you, how many hours of the day belong to you? Because it seems already, if you coaching the men's and the women's college teams, when do you have time to do anything for you?
Yes, I am the assistant for the women's, the assistant for the men. I'm also in class full time.
Ooh, coach.
and sometimes I do occasionally security. I'm doing a lot, man. But you know what? Time for myself is maybe the weekend, or if off season. During the season, not much time.
Yeah,
not much. We got to prepare for the game. We got to do scout reports. We got to do everything. So during the season, I'm nonstop. Plus, I'm full-time in class. So that's done. I'm going to graduate May the 4th.
Congratulations. That's big.
And I don't know what's next. I can't tell you. I just don't know what's next. But I'm going to try to go where I'm needed and where I'm wanted. And I want to stick with the women.
Okay.
You know, continue the women's legacy, the women's basketball, keep it going and keep the WNBA alive.
So
professional?
So it's your aspiration to be a coach, a head coach?
Yes and no. I really love the training part.
Okay.
And being a coach, a lot of kids don't like to work out on the side, you know, after practice with the head coach. They'd rather do it with the assistant, you know, instead of, they'd rather get better with the assistant and then show the head coach on the court. But I have right now, I have about 8 or 10 girls that I work out, and I love getting them better, making them better, showing them the things that I learned, the basic fundamentals, and then some fancy stuff that I learned.
Nice.
You know, I love it. And I have like 3 waiting on me to work out tonight at 7:00. So I love the workout part. I'm not saying that I don't want to be a head coach. I would love that, but I also love the training. So even as a head coach, I'll still be training within my practice.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, we will let you get to your practice. But man, we truly
appreciate it, Coach.
You coming on, taking the time, especially when this game is on such a high note. We just feel like we have to try to pay as much attention to it and give the props where they're due.
Well, guys, I appreciate you giving us the props. I appreciate you having me on. When I got the text message to come on, I said, yeah, I'll be on.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Coach.
Months ago. And then I said, well, I can't do that one and not do this one. So now, you know, whenever somebody calls me for a podcast or for an interview, I try my best to give it because I know women's basketball is evolving. It's getting better. It's going to get better. So just giving them the opportunity to talk to me and me express what I feel and what I think, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we give everybody a history of the game, and we got to give everybody the legends of the game who preceded the Caitlin Clarks and the Chi-Town Barbie. So we got to make sure that, you know, everybody do their history and get to know those players who was revolutionary and part of the genesis of women's basketball.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. And anytime you want to call me, we can talk about other stuff, training. I would love to do it. So you just give me a buzz.
And I'll hold you to that one, especially with the training for women. Yeah, I will hold you to that one. All right, you take care.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.
Sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Carl Lee at letstalk@promessage.com, Dale Cooper at dcooper@wvradio.com, or call 304-342-8131. Ask Carl a question or comment on current or previous episodes. Visit Let's Talk Carl Lee on Facebook. Like, rate, and subscribe from your podcast service to help more people find Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, me and Hollis Lewis, we're back. And if you've caught the first half of the show, I'll make the case that you probably learned a little bit of something. Hollis, it amazes me that we've had those type of athletes with those kind of merits.
Yes, big time merits.
Like, if somebody says they've been, 2-time Pro Bowler, you're like, oh gosh, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's as huge as a big deal.
That's top level.
Yeah, that's an individual who has put herself above the majority of, and you can say, well, what about the other people that they might not have been? No, you can't. You don't get to measure that.
You don't get to measure that. Yeah. I don't like when people have those sort of arguments.
Yes, yeah. I don't even know where that comes from.
Yeah,
but just to have, just to hear her talk about, and you can tell that she's very comfortable in talking about her success and because of her work ethic.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think when someone has put in that type of work.
And it's pitting in currently.
And come on, you coach in 2 places.
And we know how difficult collegiate coaching is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, and so you spending all your time for these youth.
Yeah.
These young athletes, men and women, you putting in your time for them.
Yeah, and to me, this is where the WNBA is going to prove itself as competent leadership. I'm not talking about the players now. What I am talking about is the execs, administrative presidents, and so on. Is that what they need to do, or at least in my view, not only do they need to highlight and push as far as the Caitlin Clarks and the Angel Reeses and everybody else that's coming out, this great, awesome class that came out, they need to also make sure that we are educated on the history of the WNBA and getting those players who aren't as well known, because I didn't necessarily know about Coach Stinson, but looking at her stats, I mean, you're talking about an Olympian. You're talking about somebody who was an all-pro, who was an all-star, who was played in overseas, who has her number retired with the Charlotte Sting. This is a great, probably borderline, almost, or maybe even is a Hall of Fame player in the first class of the WNBA. This is pure greatness we were talking to.
And that's such a valid point, because if you don't go back and do the research to find out who are the groundbreakers, these are the Jim Browns, and you know, those are
they're here with us.
Here. They're right here. And we can act like we're ignoring them, because we do have these new great young players moving up. But at some point, this isn't the start.
This is not the start.
It is not the start. And
I think that's what's getting lost. But I think that's a great point, Coach. This isn't the start.
No.
This is kind of like your second, third generation. This is just like the taking off point. They had a whole runway in which they were running.
Yep.
Now it's kind of taking off.
They've been doing that test market for years now.
Yeah.
You know, shooting threes, scoring, or maybe not even shooting threes, but scoring 20 points. Mm-hmm. Big deal. You know, if you score 20 points, that's a big deal. Now, we're somewhere where 20 points for Caitlin ain't nothing.
It might be an off game.
Yeah, it might be an off day. And so we're looking at where it's gotten to, and we're not looking where did it come from.
Where did it come from?
Who got us here?
Yeah, and that's so important. It's so important. And again, I think the NBA and the NFL does a great job with that. I mean, when I was young, coming up in the early 90s, late 80s, and I started to watch football, what do we have? NFL film. So you're seeing, you know, the Jim Browns, you're seeing the Mel Blunts, you're seeing those greatness from the 70s and 60s, and you start to educate yourself not only about those players, but the evolution of the game. And I think this is the WNBA chance, because when we talk about pay, again, you can't necessarily squeeze blood out of a turnip. And if your league isn't making money, then there's no money to get to pay. However, I think this is the opportunity to monopolize not only on ticket sales, but merchandise, and to monopolize on the history of the game. So they have a lot of potential income revenues to draw from.
And the process, think about this. All right, so I'm a kid. I'm a Browns fan. Mm-hmm. My dad's a football fan. I become a football fan. Want to play, blah 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 blah. And so we're growing up watching that. Mm-hmm. So I'm in high school. I'm still watching and listening and learning that player. Then by the time you get there, you still looking at this player, that player.
You know all the guys.
Yeah, you know all the guys. And the greatest moment was the greatest moments is like when guys like Carl Eller show up at a practice, and you get a chance to say, you know, hey Carl, how you doing, man? You know, Alan Page, hey Alan Page, how you doing, man? Like I'm a kid,
yep.
Right? Like I'm looking at them like I was 12.
Yeah, Merrill Hodges, he's a commentator and former Steelers player. He had a great story about Walter Payton. He kind of in that same vein where he grew up studying and idolizing this guy, and now he's on a professional level when you get to see him. So I think that the WNBA I think has to create that, and they have to take advantage of that.
Yes.
And I think that's how you start to get the stream, because now it becomes, to your point, it becomes a generational thing. When you're watching football, we started watching with our dads and our uncles and our big brothers. It became a family and a generational thing as opposed to kind of just a one-off. And I think if they don't think long-term, and that means thinking in the future but also pulling the past up, they're going to be doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah, because now you can create video, of the older game of the WNBA, and even I'd even be willing to even pull games from overseas, because some of those people
That's actually a good point. I didn't think about that. Some of their primes was overseas.
Yes, some of their primes was there. Some of the time, some of them didn't make that transition. Yeah, and may have played the whole time. But
That's actually a good point.
We need to know those names.
Yeah, and in addition, like I said, I think you are during All-Star Weekend. The NBA does a great job pulling the Magics and those old Barclays and the guys sort of out of retirement out to just participate in some of those shoot-arounds and those different little games. And I think that the WNBA could do something similar, where now you're just pulling all these generations in and just really making it where you're just seeing that evolution of the game. Because I think, to her point, I've never heard of a college coach, and again, maybe I just don't know, but coaching two teams.
I've never.
You talking about the epitome of hard work, and in class at a graduate level, full time, bruh. Come on.
I mean, anybody.
Ain't no way.
Anybody who's ever played college ball, coached college ball. I don't care what the sport is. You realize how much time that a coach spends in that building.
Yeah.
And you're doing it. You're doing double time.
That's like coaching football and soccer at the same time,
yes.
bro. Like I've coached 1 year collegiate football, and I obviously play collegiate football, and it's the time in addition to going to class, bro. Ain't no way.
It's virtually impossible.
For me, it is.
I mean, and you can hear her tone of voice,
passion,
and loving it.
Yeah. And I think we're just blessed just to have. I really enjoyed that interview, and I think, you know what I'm saying, I hope we could do more like that.
Yeah, I think Andrea, she brought some real truth, and what was it to me? What was it even better? Was she brought her confidence, and her role in the WNBA, and women's basketball. Like she knows that she is part of that.
Yeah, I like that.
That journey.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think when men do that, we do it the wrong way. Because we're all about us. Yeah. And it comes across all about us, right? The way she talked, she was confident about what she knows what she's done.
Yeah.
But it comes to when it comes out in a way that it is important for the game.
Yeah.
That she knows she's a link in the game, but the game still is bigger.
Yeah.
And she's just proud, super proud of being part of that foundation of where the game is now.
100%. We didn't have visuals with Zoom, but we didn't have visuals necessarily. So, but you can feel that oozing through sort of your headphones. And I just, like I said, I like where women's sports is going. I think, and to her point, all they do play half the games. I think that's a good thing. Like, I'm going to make a concerted effort. I'm going to watch a WNBA this season. Like, I'm going to watch as much as games as I can watch, just to, I watch a lot of women's college basketball over the last probably 5 years, but I never have watched WNBA consistently. So I'm going to make a concerted effort to watch it and just really see how the game is going to go.
And to the number of games.
I think it's a good thing. NBA 82 is too much. Yeah, it's terrible.
You can't. When you play 16 games of football and then
they're trying to add 18. They're trying to take it to 18. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy because you can't be up for all 16 games.
You don't think so?
No. Everybody in it, everybody realizes that there's that down game. You know, that game that you just ain't going to be up.
No, hold up. Now, when you say that, is that just like something like attrition happens, or is that something you're saying like you have to almost give yourself like a mental break for this week? How does that go?
You don't take the break. You still practice.
The break takes you.
The break takes you. The break takes you.
The break takes you.
You get out there and you like, you know, what's going on? Like I ain't. Come on.
What week was that for you normally? If you could put it in a week,
it's usually going to be somewhere between right at 7-8 game, or somewhere around 10-11.
Now is this?
And if you're out now,
that's
once you get out,
is this predicated on that?
It's not necessarily
contending or not.
It's not predicated on whether or not you're going to get to the playoffs. Yeah. If you locked into the playoffs and you at week 12, there's no guarantee that you're going to show up every game. Like you just can't mentally get to the height of the game. You're playing on strictly ability. Okay.
At some point.
Okay. And nothing's wrong with you playing on your ability, because it's there. It fits. You know, you can compete.
That's what it's there for.
That's what it's there for. But there's that extra drive that you have. Mm-hmm. Okay, like you get San Francisco coming in there, bro. You up for that? You up for
conference game?
Conference game.
Joe Montana,
all that.
Yeah, you ain't got no choice.
No, you ain't never gonna be down on that.
Yeah.
And you can't even claim to be down because you got torched for 3 touchdowns and all that kind of stuff. You can't even use that.
Yeah.
But you turn around and you get a team that. And it's not predicated on the team. It just shows up.
It just shows up.
And you just don't have it. And you're pushing and you're trying.
So I wonder with the modern, like just taking it back to basketball, like if you're playing 82 games as an NBA player, like how many games do you experience like that, particularly when you've had back-to-backs, when you've had, 3-4 games in a week, like when you're traveling back and forth?
Think about these guys who have injuries, okay? And usually it's the star guys, right? So all of a sudden you hear they're out today, or they're out this week, so they may miss 2 or 3 games that week. Now, in most cases, they don't have to be hurt, or injured. There's a difference in being hurt and injured.
Yeah, those are different.
Okay, so they could be hurt and just decide, okay, I don't think I can go today, and they're not gonna go.
Yeah,
because they're playing 80 games, but you got to get to you mentally, physically. You prepared for that. Mentally, you understand what it is because you've done it before, many times before. You done 80, you done 100. With playoffs and all that, so you get it. But there is those moments, when they start talking about Steph's not on today, that's those days.
Because I wanted to think back, like looking at like the Michael Jordan documentaries, different things like that. I wonder, was the cigars, the golf, the kind of the lifestyle, was that part of sort of just taking your mind off of it for a while, or providing some sort of escape, so let your mind go here and then it can sort of recalibrate and come back to the game? You know what I mean? I wonder, was that a part of his mentality? You know what I mean?
I would think that most of those type of guys have to.
They have to sort of mentally get away,
because they're never free. Somebody like me, it's just that attention is locked into a box. It's just a small box of people that I'm going to be around, during the season. For them, everybody. Anywhere.
That's a good point.
Anywhere and everywhere. So there has to be a time and a place where you have just you.
Yeah.
You got to have just you.
Yeah.
And you don't even want the hoopla of the fans. You don't even want to be even affected. And to me, thinking about 16 games with the max, maybe 20-some games, I'll make the case I can't even understand basketball.
I would agree with that.
Because I can't imagine being in that fan base. Because if you have 40 home games and you're a player, you don't have to be the star player. You're a player. You still got to deal with those fans every moment of your day.
And with football, we're disconnected, so to speak, from kind of everybody. Basketball, you're just right
there. Like they're right over you. Yeah. And I can't even imagine what it's like when you walk out of the Coliseum, because people like they tailgate, people wait on you outside.
And they know exactly what you look like.
And they know where you come in and where you go out.
Yeah.
And so you can't even get freedom after the game. And again, for a lot of those dudes, they can't eat. Where you go eat? We used to hang out after, we'd go somewhere and eat. We didn't have people might know you when you come in. But you Steph Curry now. How do you grab the family and go to Applebee's and go grab something to eat?
You gotta either take it and go or buy the restaurant out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be here in about 2 hours.
Yeah, because there ain't no way people gonna let you sit there and eat.
Yeah, that's true. I ain't think about it like that.
And it's crazy. It's just crazy that that kind of I don't know if I want to call as a fan or that kind of reaction to players. You got to have it.
Yeah, and I think
the problem is you got to have it. You want it. You're playing for it, but when you get it.
Yeah, it's hard to deal with.
And I
think that's what the WNBA, they got to shoot for, because it's going to be bigger than just basketball. It's going to be the merchandising. It's going to be the marketing. It's going to be, the shows in and around the game. So it's got to be, I think these are the things that, unfortunately, they're going to have to get to make that money.
And the top, you start talking about Caitlin, she's going to be one of the top players, whether it be jerseys, whether it be shoes.
Yeah.
And can you sign my shoes?
I think she got the Kobe deal too, I think, right? Did she get the Kobe? That's what she was wearing in college. I don't know if she's going to be like a Kobe athlete.
Right.
But I know she signed with Nike.
Probably. Yeah, and again, if I bought a pair, what am I going to do? And I know she's coming this way. I'm going to try to get her to sign those.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And everything that you want, because she's going to be, the first NBA game that she plays in.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy.
I'm going to be tuning in.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to watch it.
Absolutely. And it's going to be on television.
Yeah, I'm watching WNBA this year.
I like I said, I like it, and I think I'm gonna enjoy it even more now that I had a chance to see the collegiate.
Yeah.
And seeing those girls, and young ladies transition to.
And I think that's the thing, Coach. I think now we get to the same thing with our favorite college football players. Yeah. We get to see, and I think that's what makes college football so great, because we get to see that transition. And I think that's the same thing that was going to make the WNBA great, as long as we keep our eyes on that collegiate and professional game.
Right. And I'm going to close on this one and see what you think about it. And this is somewhat off the subject, but I had a conversation earlier today, and we were talking about the number of first-round quarterbacks that have been taken that have been a bust.
Mm-hmm.
What is the consequences? I know what they are, but what are the consequences to making that bad pick?
Like football, or talking about basketball?
Football.
The consequences is just it's. I think it really depends on kind of what you have lined up for the next several years. For example, if you have some first round picks this year, since they got 2 or 3 maybe, and then you maybe got 2 or 3 in the following year, then maybe not so much, or in the next couple years. But I think if you're in a situation which you've willed and dealed, and you've sort of banked your future on that first round pick as opposed and given up picks in the future, then that could really, really damage your team and your ability to build that team. Because if I'm mortgaging my future on a quarterback or a high level top player, then that means I have less money to spend other places.
See, you're talking about a Herschel Walker kind of a situation. We not we, but the general manager invested in this one player thinking he would settle. He would be the key component that we needed to get to the next level. But you took 5 starters off of our defense.
Yeah, and the thing is, in what we've seen, for example, in that Patriot way, sort of that philosophy that I'm going to just trade picks to get more picks, that works if you got a Tom Brady.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like a double-edged sword.
Right.
So if I don't have the guy, then even if I acquire all these picks, if I don't have a Mahomes, if I don't have a Tom Brady, if I don't have a Joe Burrow, then it ain't gonna work anyway.
It ain't gonna work.
So it's like you kind of darn if you do, darn if you don't. You know what I mean?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. We might be just a tad bit earlier, I think, from getting out today. But hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back at you again soon.
The opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WVRC Media, its management, employees, or sponsors. Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.